Good evening, everyone. Je vais parler en français. Et donc, déjà, ce que je veux dire, en toute première chose, c'est qu'il me semble déjà un grand succès, cet événement, avec autant de monde, enfin, à la fin d'une journée longue et chargée pour tout le monde. Donc, merci d'être là et d'être nombreux pour cet événement Pelagos. Donc, cet événement se tient à un moment très particulier, très important, je dirais, pour l'histoire de l'accord. Car dans 2 semaines, les parties à l'accord vont approuver à Rome les nouveaux plans de gestion et les nouveaux plans d'action 2022-2027 de l'accord. Et ce plan de gestion, plan d'action, introduit une vision très différente de l'accord. Une vision qui amène les parties à renforcer leur collaboration à l'international, mais un plan de gestion qui implique, avec l'aide des parties de plus en plus, tous les acteurs et toutes les parties prenantes qui sont impliquées dans l'ère du sanctuaire. Parce que pour la mise en œuvre de ce plan de gestion, il est essentiel de pouvoir compter sur l'œuvre et l'action de tout le monde. Donc, il s'agit d'un plan de gestion très ambitieux, comme je vous disais, et ce plan de gestion vise bien sûr à renforcer donc, la protection et la conservation des mammifères marins et de leur habitat dans l'ère du sanctuaire. Il est intéressant d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui au Forum des AMP de Méditerranée parce qu'il est à noter comme dans les cadres des objectifs stratégiques qui ont été identifiés dans la feuille de route des AMP de Méditerranée, ces objectifs sont retracés de la même manière dans les plans d'action de Pelagos, qui est un accord international. Et donc, cela montre une cohérence et aussi une convergence des actions et des efforts qui sont actuellement en œuvre dans l'ère méditerranéenne. Je vais prendre cela. Et je vais donc essayer de faire les liens. Au cours de cette session, nous allons notamment approfondir l'objectif stratégique numéro 3 à travers de la signature d'un protocole d'entente avec la Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community, et avec les soutiens du secrétariat, de Joint Secretariat Interreg Med. Et puis, nous allons aussi présenter les moyens à travers lesquels les parties à l'accord Pelagos ont décidé de parvenir à la mise en œuvre réelle du plan de gestion. Donc, il faut que le plan de gestion soit soutenu par un soutien financier qui soit durable et à long terme. Et à ce fin, les parties à l'accord ont décidé de la création d'un fonds volontaire Pelagos qui va recueillir les fonds et des bailleurs qui souhaitent œuvrer et financer les actions du plan de gestion. Et puis, les parties à l'accord ont également décidé de participer à un projet LIFE, de proposer un projet LIFE, faire une proposition de projet LIFE for Pelagos, with Pelagos, WIPE for Pelagos. Et donc, cela sera présenté par le docteur Caterina Maria Fortuna. Donc, cela est le cadre de ce side event. On aurait dû commencer par la présentation des activités qui sont menées par l'équipe d'animation française, de la partie française de l'accord. Malheureusement, Marion Perrache, elle a eu un imprévu de la dernière minute, donc ne pourra pas être parmi nous. Cela dit, les actions de la partie française sont assez connues, je dirais. beaucoup a été fait de la part de Porcro pour la mise en œuvre des objectifs de l'accord. Si je ne me trompe pas, Alain Barcelo, président du comité scientifique et technique, est en ligne et nous suit par vidéoconférence, donc il pourra intervenir. Mais je vais juste dire que Porcro a beaucoup œuvré pour mettre en place des actions au niveau de la communication, mais également au niveau de la recherche dans les eaux françaises. Et il a beaucoup fait aussi pour impliquer davantage toutes les parties prenantes françaises. Et donc, par exemple, les actions pour la promotion de la charte de partenariat ou bien les actions relatives à l'initiative des ambassadeurs Pelagos. Donc, tout cela a été fait du côté français. C'est un grand travail et donc, bien sûr, ça aurait été un plaisir d'accueillir Marion parmi nous aujourd'hui. Et donc, parmi les actions qui ont été réalisées, il y a aussi un projet Interreg-Med dont le secrétariat permanent de l'accord est par ailleurs partenaire associé. Et dans le cadre de ces projets, Porcro fait un lien avec l'aire marine protégée de Portofino pour l'échange de bonnes pratiques qui existent et qui pourraient être développées davantage. Donc, pour cela, je demande à Lorenzo Merotto, qui est parmi nous aujourd'hui, de pouvoir nous expliquer un petit peu en quoi ça concerne cet échange et quelles sont les actions qui ont été réalisées par l'aire marine de Portofino jusqu'à présent. Merci, Lorenzo.
Thanks, Costanza. Yes, we are a partner with the Parc Marine of Porquerolles in Parc National Porquerolles in France on this Interreg-Med project MPA networks, where MedPan is the leader. And between the other action, we have this exchange of experience with Porquerolles in order to align the Italian side of Pelagos with the French, because the French side is more forward in the action, and the Italian side is have to improve all the action. And as Portofino, we are the coordinator of the Italian side. Okay, so in this project there is also the working group of mobile species that is one of the main working group in this project, also in the action of MedPan, because the mobile species, so the cetacean and the turtles, are for definition migratory species, so management of international transfrontalier management is necessary. From our side, the Italian side, we are we sign a partnership agreement with the Pelagos partner, the other marine protected area in Pelagos, and we do a survey. We coordinate a survey with the partner in order to involve all the municipality in the territory of the different marine protected area on the sea and also in the hinterland, in order to understand what are their action can be useful to improve the effect of the management in the Italian side. So thank you, and I finished. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lorenzo. And now I will ask to Hélène to present the high quality whale watching label and the implementation of the label in the area of the sanctuary, of the Pelagos Sanctuary.
Merci. Bonjour à tous. Alors, bon, du coup, Susanna Salvador, je pensais qu'elle allait vous expliquer un petit peu la certification, mais du coup, je vais essayer de le faire du mieux que je peux. Donc, moi, je suis Hélène Labac, je travaille à MPA Forum. Donc, c'est une association française pour l'étude et la conservation des cétacés. Et on est animateur de la certification High Quality Whale Watching en France, donc depuis 2014. Donc, cette certification, elle a été donc déposée par la COBAMS, conjointement avec le sanctuaire Pelagos. Et donc, c'était une initiative qui date déjà depuis un petit peu plus longtemps, qui a été notamment encouragée par le Parc national de Port-Cros, l'association Souffleurs d'écume, qui donc maintenant fait partie de MPA Forum, et qui est donc en place dans les eaux françaises et dans le sanctuaire Pelagos depuis 2014. Donc cette certification-là, c'est donc une certification qui est volontaire, et qui propose aux opérateurs donc, de whale watching donc d'adhérer à cette certification, et ils s'engagent à avoir une activité d'observation des cétacés, donc commerciale, puisque ça s'adresse à l'activité commerciale, respectueuse des animaux et de l'environnement. Donc les premières formations des opérateurs ont eu lieu en 2012. Donc, la certification a été mise en place en 2014 et donc nous l'animons depuis cette date-là. Et alors, pour information, cette certification donc, qui a été déposée par la COBAMS, donc pour la zone de l'accord à COBAMS, par le biais de la France, est un petit peu exporté outre-mer. Donc, c'est intéressant de voir aussi que aussi bien Pelagos que la COBAMS peuvent être des zones pilotes qui peuvent proposer des actions en dehors de leur zone. Donc aujourd'hui, je ne vais pas vous faire toute l'évolution. Aujourd'hui, on a 14 opérateurs qui sont certifiés en France, dont 7 dans le sanctuaire Pelagos. Donc c'est la moitié. Et donc, il faut savoir que dans le sanctuaire Pelagos, on a donc 7 opérateurs certifiés. Il y en a 4 qui pratiquent la nage avec les cétacés, donc qui est une activité complètement proscrite de la certification. Et on a donc un cahier des charges qui a été validé par la COBAMS, et en France, on l'a un petit peu renforcé avec certaines spécifications, notamment donc l'interdiction de la nage avec les cétacés et l'interdiction de la détection aérienne, puisque dans la zone du sanctuaire, on a des opérateurs qui pratiquent la détection aérienne et on a 4 opérateurs qui pratiquent la nage avec les cétacés. Donc, en résumé, en quoi ça consiste l'animation de cette certification? Alors, avant de pouvoir dire qu'ils sont certifiés, les opérateurs doivent suivre une formation qui est obligatoire, donc que nous dispensons, sur à la fois l'approche, les cétacés, le discours à bord, enfin pas mal de choses. Donc ensuite, ils ont la certification. On a donc un suivi des opérateurs, en accompagnement pour la mise en œuvre des pratiques respectueuses, un contrôle qui intervient tous les ans. Alors, pas tous les opérateurs sont contrôlés tous les ans, mais régulièrement. Et cette année, on a quasiment contrôlé tout le monde. Donc, les opérateurs sont évalués par un comité d'évaluation dont font partie la COBAMS, le sanctuaire Pelagos, et MPA Forum. Et donc, les opérateurs peuvent être bannis de la certification s'ils ne respectent pas les engagements de la charte. On a un rôle aussi de communication pour promouvoir cette marque auprès du grand public, pour que le public puisse choisir des opérateurs qui sont donc engagés dans des démarches respectueuses. Donc, au niveau des forces, donc, depuis 2014, en fait, la certification elle a permis de créer un réseau d'opérateurs donc engagés. Donc là, on a eu récemment une réunion avec tous les opérateurs et donc on voit quand même que ça crée du lien entre eux. Et donc, ils communiquent, ils s'entraident et ça, je trouve que c'est assez intéressant. Et ils participent aussi à l'évolution du cahier des charges, c'est-à-dire qu'ils font des propositions. Et la plupart du temps, ce sont des propositions pour être plus strictes, avoir un cahier des charges plus strict, plus de contrôle. Et là, on va être sur une refonte de la formation pour qu'elle soit plus adaptée à leurs besoins. En général, on a un bon respect des engagements du cahier des charges. Et les opérateurs, donc, alors, ils s'engagent à communiquer les données des observations. Donc ça, c'est obligatoire pour eux. Donc ça permet de contribuer à la science. Et ils participent aussi également à pas mal d'études scientifiques, notamment portées par le Parc national de Port-Cros en tant qu'animateur de la partie française du sanctuaire Pelagos. Donc on a 4-5 études scientifiques qui ont été conduites dans le sanctuaire Pelagos sur les impacts de cette activité-là, sur la diminution des impacts. Et on a même des projets un petit peu plus, avec un volet un peu plus socio-économique, donc qui sont en cours. Les faiblesses, c'est principalement lié à la communication et donc à la connaissance du grand public de la certification en elle-même. Donc ça, c'est quelque chose qu'on va essayer de développer de plus en plus. Bon, alors ça demande quand même beaucoup d'investissement, la communication. Et au niveau des perspectives, donc je pense on essaye de travailler pour essayer d'améliorer en fait les bénéfices socio-économiques des opérateurs pour les motiver de nouveaux opérateurs à se certifier de manière à pouvoir augmenter le taux d'opérateurs de whale watching certifiés parce que c'est notamment un des objectifs du programme de mesure de la directive 4 stratégie pour le milieu marin en France, d'avoir un taux important d'opérateurs engagés dans des marches respectueuses. Et de renforcer en fait le rôle de la certification en tant que telle pour créer du lien entre les acteurs économiques professionnels, donc les opérateurs, et les gestionnaires, les scientifiques, de manière à avoir une meilleure collaboration pour aller vers justement une amélioration de la durabilité de la pratique. Merci.
Merci Hélène. Et maintenant, nous avons en ligne donc Aurélie Moulin qui nous parlera du déploiement du label High Quality Whale Watching dans les eaux italiennes du sanctuaire. Alors, petit problème technique, Aurélie Moulin n'est plus là. Donc, on va continuer peut-être, on va récupérer Aurélie par la suite. Et donc, on va passer à la présentation donc, du nouveau plan de gestion en lien avec les activités qu'avec MBPC, nous avons pu donc, identifier pour la mise en œuvre du plan de gestion. Donc, je laisse la parole à Maxime Trapani et à Dania Abdul Malak.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Maxime Trapani. I'm assistant to the Executive Secretary at the Pelagos Agreement, Parent Secretariat. So I will just present the milestones, the very next milestone of the Pelagos Agreement in the incoming weeks. So as lots of you may know, the Pelagos Agreement normally organizes its meeting of the parties every 2 years. And the 8th meeting of the parties will be very, very important in the development of the Pelagos Agreement. In fact, on the 15th and 16th of December 2021 in Rome, we will adopt a lot of documents, including very guiding ones, and in particular, the 2022-2027 management plan and action plan, alongside with the 2022-2023 working program and budget. And why are these documents important? Because the management plan basically frames the actions to be undertaken in order to reach the goal of the agreement, which is the preservation of the marine mammals in the Pelagos sanctuary. And the working program and the budget for the first biennium of it will pave the way, basically, for the implementation of concrete, shared, and harmonized measures for the parties. I would also like to emphasize the adoption, among other, of course, of two other documents: the terms of reference for the Pelagos working groups and the terms of reference of the Pelagos Voluntary Fund. They are essential to support the Pelagos Agreement by creating a renewed network of experts and stakeholders, and to allow the permanent secretariat to reach new sources of funding in order to strengthen the implementation of the action foreseen in the biennial working programs. The 8th meetings of a party will also be important because we will hold two major side events. The first will be the signature of the annexes of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Permanent Secretariat of the Agreement and the Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community and its modular projects on the 16th of December. And this event will be the second step of the collaboration that we will formally start tonight with the signature of the MOU, and they will precise the actions and the synergies between the partners. And the second one will be the Pelagos workshop on ship strikes, to be held on the 17th. It aims to continue the discussions and solutions to reduce the risk of ship strikes in the sanctuary, which is, as we all know, a major cause of non-natural death. So the Pelagos Agreement managed to take advantage of the COVID-19 pandemics to launch a very positive dynamics. And this side event, the one we are attending now, along with the objectives of the 8th meeting of the parties and the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding of tonight, are strong indicators. Now I leave the floor to Dania to speak a little bit about the Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, thank you, Maxime. Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Dania Abdelmalek. I work at the European Topic Center on Spatial Information and Analysis. At the same time, I coordinate the initiative that was mentioned, the Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community, which is, as some of you know, it's a type of a project that feeds on many other initiatives. There is more information here in the roll-up if you want to know more, or you can ask colleagues. There are many of the partners present here. I will not be long about it. This is a project that has started in 2016 as a first phase, where we tried to identify certain global, regional, and Mediterranean targets and work toward them. Since 2019, we started phase 2, that's the actual Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community, that has gone into clear territorial sub-Mediterranean targets, where transboundary governance was an important activity under one of the working groups. And we started looking into work that could be done beyond marine protected areas, in areas especially that are governed by different types of stakeholders or different types of countries. And here is the link with the Pelagos. So what we did at some stage of the project was to identify that there has been quite of a mature management plan that was under development, that had clear targets. We had worked quite much on understanding where the activities and the efforts of this big community of projects that has already delivered quite some results since 2016, and how they could feed different processes in the management plan. So after having identified that took us and our partners quite some time. We made sure that we highlighted clear actions that we could be supporting with a little bit more effort from the community side. The interesting thing was to try to see whether, because they were not highlighted as clear activities to the extent that we wanted to work across them. So we identified some opportunities within the funding body, so the Interreg Mediterranean program, and we had quite of an interesting extension in the project time and a little bit of an extension in the project budget that ensured adding quite some activities that could fulfill, at least for the year 2022 until the end of the actual project, quite some activities to kick off some of the processes, hopefully, that are planned to be implemented in the action plan. Having said so, I just want to show a bit what is the intention. So that was a bit where we are. This was somehow the work done between the three entities. So the Interreg Med Joint Secretariat, the funding somehow organism, the community with all the results, tools, and outcomes that has been developed so far, and the management plan that has been developed quite to a mature level, hopefully will be adopted in a week time, week or 10 days time, I guess, in Rome. And that is for us, the incentive to develop clear actions that we could develop under a memorandum of understanding that we would like to sign. Today, the main activities are around these three main topics. So there are some networking activities with the big, I would say, number of institutions that belong to the projects. So there are 17 projects, around 300 institutions in the Mediterranean that somehow are linked to this community. So the networking and engaging them in the process is something that we would be focusing on to support some activities in the management plan and some actions, precise actions that we have identified, and to ensure some capacity building, mainly linked to what needs have been identified in the management plan and how the skills and knowledge from this community of projects can fulfill them. So these are like the main three broad activities, and I think I'll leave it to you, right? Or is it? Okay, yeah, I had. So I go a little bit more into details, into the actions. Mainly, it's about exchanging information and data, mainly related to gaps of knowledge around biodiversity and pressures in the area. So we have started already looking into what are the gaps and how the knowledge that is existing could fill them. To facilitate the transfer of expertise, as I mentioned, tools and knowledge among the parties and the different groups that will be working around the management plan. The development of a scientific technical pool of experts, so what expertise is needed and how our pool of networks can fill that to support the implementation of the management plan. We have identified some joint capacity building activities, certain workshops, certain site visits, exchanges that could happen in the area, workshops identified around some important topics. I think maritime transport was mentioned as an important pressure in the region. So there are some partners we have, such as Plan Bleu, that have developed some guidelines. We would need to push a little bit in a sense to ensure that there are some concrete targets, such as hopefully slowing down somehow transport in the region. That would be very important for the very known biodiversity that is very sensitive to that in the region, as well as joint research activities. This is linked mainly to the gaps that we have identified in terms of what is really missing in terms of knowledge, and trying to find out ways to ensure there could be some opportunities to fill those gaps. And I think now this is where I leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Let me just quickly finish this agenda item to finish rapidly on the key concrete cooperation components in the framework of the MOU. The first one is the participation in the working groups, because as I said before, they will be essential in the sense that they will form the skeleton of the, let's say, day-to-day activities. And in this perspective, the MBPC can share its knowledge and expertise through the participation, notably, in two of them. The working group on assessments of species and ecosystem, which is called also the assessment working group, and the working group on the fight against pollution and mitigation of human-induced mortality, also known as impact working group. It's one important development of the new management plan, which is to realize the assessments on the species and the pressures in the sanctuary based on existing literature and available data. And in this perspective, the help of the experts of the MBPC is more than welcome. And I also seize here the opportunity to say that a call for expression of interest will be launched during the first weeks of January 2022. And if you're interested, don't hesitate to contact us. And another perspective of collaboration will be on the sharing of experiences in the creation of directories, databases, and archives. And in particular, it is very important for the Pelagos Agreement to obtain mapping of species and distribution, but also to correlate them with the pressures. This activity is currently carried out in the framework of the Amare Plus project, one of the modular projects under the MBPC umbrella, as well as by the ETC UMA. And then the specific activities to be implemented in the framework of this fruitful cooperation will be further detailed in the two annexes that will be signed during the 8th meeting of the parties. The first one between the Permanent Secretariat and the individual partners of the MBPC, and the other one with the modular projects under the MBPC umbrella. And with that, I concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dania. Thank you, Maxime. So, Francesca Marcato from the Interreg-Med Joint Secretariat. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Costanza. We are, as Joint Secretariat of Interreg-Med program, we are really glad about this agreement between the Pelagos Sanctuary and the thematic community. Let's say that it's really a testimony of the work done by these last years by the thematic community from 2016, that's said by Dania, and demonstration of how to concretize the work that was expected by Interreg-Med program from the thematic community. So it's really a good results for us. We are really glad about it. It's really also a way of transfer, upscale the results coming from the modular projects of Interreg-Med, but also of other projects. And it's really, you know, I integrate upscale in existing strategies that it's really good. I did a demonstration of how also in this way of cooperation, coordination with other initiatives and programs and strategies can really ensure an impact and sustainability of European funds. So we are really happy about that. And also, let's say that create a link between this programming period and the new one. So from Interreg-Med and Euromed program that we will have the kickoff meeting this week, the 2nd December. So it's really a good link because in the Euromed program, we really guarantee and we would like to continue to work in this direction, pushing for this transfer of results in coordination with other initiatives, strategies and programs. So we are really glad about it. So thank you so much. And I'm really glad to sign this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. So let's sign. Maintenant, je demande au docteur Caterina Maria Fortuna de prendre la parole. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you. Thanks and good evening or late afternoon. I'll try to be, oh, this is not me. This is not me. This is me. So what I'm going to talk very quickly is an example of an idea which is developing into life nature strategic nature project that somehow is an example of how to set collaborative frameworks and how to promote stakeholders' involvement in the case of the Pelagos Sanctuary. I was honored to be consulting for the Pelagos Agreement when they had to draft a new management plan, a new action plan and work plans. At some point I felt I really put into that document together with the parties all actions that they, in my opinion, they needed to make, all the next steps. But then I actually felt a little bit guilty because I was basically asking them to do in 6 years what they couldn't really achieve until now. So I felt guilty, and as you know very well, and I have been listening in the past few sessions, if you don't have funds and if you don't have support, institutional support and support from stakeholders, you actually don't achieve anything. I mean, at least in this field. So this was my idea on how maybe we could try to start solving the project. So we had the conversation with the life unit in Brussels, discussing the possibility of submitting a project to actually implement the management plan and the action plans. There was a suggestion to go, rather than for a simple project, to go for a strategic project, which is made exactly to implement plans, which are already agreed by parties. Usually there are more European plans. In this case, you have a trilateral agreement with 2 EU countries and a non-EU country. So the plan is for this project to support Secretariat and parties to implement the management plan. The key point of these projects, the strategic life nature, is basically to help improving governance by removing administrative, financial, and structural barriers. Of course, the project will have to come out with concrete conservation measures. This is why these are institutional projects. They cannot really be done by others than those that will have to implement the measures once they adopt them. So they have to adopt them and implement. Just very quickly, the project, it's you can imagine these are projects which they can run up to 10 years. They do run in blocks of 3 years now. So they don't require to have a complete idea from the start to the end of what is going to happen, but they will be, in this case, they will be based on a plan which is adopted. So we'll be looking at 3 main topic themes. So first one is to really enhance the Pelagos network of stakeholders. Pelagos as Costanza mentioned, did have already a few very interesting and promising tools. For example, the charter for the municipalities, They have over 100, I think, maybe 150 cities all around Pelagos. And they are increasing regularly every year. There is the Pelagos Ambassadors, which is more a campaign to involve citizens. And these were ideas, as she said, which were developed more by the French party, but they will be developed internationally. So one thing that is kind of lacking within Pelagos is that 3 countries were kind of so far, for different reasons, acting very well, possibly in some case, less in others, within national borders, but they were not really working together, which is contrary to the idea of having an agreement, trilateral agreement. Clearly, you cannot do anything in the long term if you don't have money. So beside the contribution, you have to have this voluntary fund, which will need, of course, to be developed. It will need to have a promotion plan to work, to really work. And then the idea of the project is also to build a new vision for the future. These projects are actually made specifically to help in building the right infrastructure, the right type of networks and relationships, so that in future, in this case, the Pelagos Agreement can actually walk and maybe even run. So we basically have all classic ingredients. You can easily read them on the screen. I'm not going to say much, except that, for example, Maxime was mentioning, and Costanza as well, there is a change in the context. There is a change in the atmosphere within Pelagos. I think this is the right time to actually try to implement a better Pelagos agreement, streamlining all the different approaches that there are with countries, but also streamlining our actions within Pelagos. So acting as only one team. Of course, there will be conservation measures, and of course, there will need to be a mechanism to actually evaluate how these measures are working, if they're working, and how they can work better. So in the end, the idea is to have a sort of Pelagos conservation framework, which will allow all these single actions to be checked. And this is just to give you an idea about the type of partnerships that is needed. Here, the logos are in color. These are the partners that already agreed to participate. In gray, I put all the partners that we wish to see participating. Of course, this is an institutional project, and you cannot have billions of beneficiaries, direct beneficiaries, but you can certainly create a good type of partnership where, in case of, for example, of some small NGOs that cannot really be involved, they can actually be, for example, associated partners or external assistants or subcontractors. And we have been in discussion with some of them. Now, here you see some of the logos. I'm not so familiar with the Pelagos current situation. So if you don't see your logo, don't get stressed, nervous, or even angry. And in case you can be angry with me, no, with the Pelagos Secretariat. This is just an example. I just wanted to make you understand that there is a serious attempt to create a network which is potentially there. There are sub-networks which are already working. Nobody so far tried to connect the dots and make everybody working together happily, which is very difficult in the world of marine mammal scientists. For example, I can tell you I'm one of them. We don't like to be too cooperative. We do cooperate, but not too much. I guess it's true in many others types of stakeholders. So this is the idea. And this presentation was just to show you what is happening, and this is not closed as a project. So anyone that is interested, please come forward to Costanza, Maxime, or myself, and I'm sure there is a place for everyone if you want to help.
Merci beaucoup, Caterina. Merci beaucoup pour cet engagement et voilà, l'importance de ce qui est en train de se réaliser. Grâce à ta contribution et la contribution de tous les partenaires qui ont décidé jusqu'à présent de faire part de ce voyage. Et voilà, donc si vous êtes intéressés, nous sommes là et dans une optique d'inclusivité, bien sûr, tout le monde peut trouver sa place. Je souhaite maintenant passer la parole à Madame Puri Canals, président MedPan de l'association MedPan.
Merci, Costanza. Well, I'm going to briefly present an initiative that also aims to support the Pelagos Agreement. This is an initiative led by 4 international organizations in the Mediterranean: IUCN Med, WWF, Mediterranean Program, MedPan, and the Prince Albert II Foundation of Monaco. So the 4 of us, we have a long tradition of supporting regional and international initiatives. So we are all supporters, for instance, of the Barcelona Convention in the Mediterranean and many other. So for us, supporting the Pelagos Agreement is part of our normal business, but we didn't do until now in an organized manner. So the idea of this initiative is to reinforce this Pelagos Agreement from our activity, taking advantage of what we already are doing, but joining forces, because this is especially, as we are discussing all those days in the forum, the key target of for the coming years in the Mediterranean. So the aim is to fund, specifically to fund activities to protect, to conserve, and to promote the sanctuary in support of the implementation of the Pelagos Agreement management plan. So about the management plan, you already present everything before. So this is contextualized to propose the funding of activities at this level. So initially, we have a budget of 700,000 euros that is planned to be spent between, well, 2021 is almost finished, and until 2023. So we had the first call for proposals of projects that we closed in September, 15 September. And it was quite interesting because we received around 10 proposals. And from these 10 proposals, we found that 7 were really of good quality. We select them, and it's expected that they begin to be implemented in 2022. So it's just in 1 month from now. So the idea is to have 1 call every year. So that means that the next call will take place in summer 2022. And well, that's a summary of the Pelagos initiative that is just targeting this action on the ground and support many little actors that have more difficulties to really bring their contribution. So this is also a mechanism, an initiative that is intermediary between a level of an agreement that is something very political and the level of practicing on the ground, and is taking advantage. The main value, I think, is that it takes advantage of 4 partners that are recognized as partners with capacity to really address those actions on the ground. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Puri. So Aurélie Moulin is online. So Aurélie, the floor is yours.
Sorry, deeply sorry for this interruption of internet. I was not expecting it. So I will present what we have done in Italy. It was supposed to be just after the presentation of Hélène Labac. So do you have the slide on?
No, Aurélie, we saw you, we see you. So could you please share your screen and your presentation? Thank you.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Aurélie.
Okay, so I'm presenting the results that have been developed in Italy. So it's different than Hélène in the sense that Hélène starts with Souffleur d'écume, and then Mila Cette starts to implement the high quality whale watching since a lot of time. In Italy, this action was not possible to put in force since 2019. So we start with funds from Interreg, cross-border, Italy-France Marittimo, the program 2014 and 2020. In this case, we have to make the action on the Ligury, Tuscany, and Sardinia. So we were a little more open to the Pelagos sanctuary because all the Sardinia was included in the action territories. In this case, in 2 years, in 19 and in 20, we were able to certify 18 operators. On those 18, 17 are acting into the sanctuary. So it's, however, a huge proportion of the operators that effectively participate to the certificate. So this is a very good point. Obviously, in the situation, we start with the COVID issue. So we have to implement both presence training with online training. So this was need for the situation. Then we developed some specific tools in order to improve the promotion of the high quality whale watching promotion, and in this case we have proposed to a kit for the operator, and the kit is made with the flag that they can present on the boat in order to make sure that all the tourists on board see the flag and recognize the logo. Obviously, the logo has been developed by the high quality whale watching since I think the beginning in 2014. So it's obviously it's need to show the logo in order to make sure that people get aware about this certification. Then we develop an app in order to make sure that all the operators have the tool to collect the data and make sure that the data can be used by the scientific community. And we develop also for this kit a tool that is like a game cards. And through the game cards that we will see on the next slide, this game is help the people on board to recognize all the different species, the different type of species, and be aware of all the human impact on the species. And further actions that we have been able to develop with the EcoStream was a new professional accreditation in order to make sure that the guide on board, the biologist on board, was recognized by the region, by the Ligurian region, as a professional person. So in this case, we have made also a separate course for them. In this case, it was 200 hours of course, but those people are not specifically trained to do whale watching. They can also accompany white people on marine tourism, on different type of embarkation, but not specifically on cetaceans. And obviously, the different other tools that we've developed, we produce these posters, and those posters were proposed to the cities in order to make sure that they are on the ports and people just tourism that are on the port can see and effectively know that this type of excursion are possible. There is on the QR code a link directly with the Pelagos site and to have more information, but it's really an idea to make sure that all the Pelagos charters, the municipalities that sign the Pelagos charter also have a promotion of the high quality whale watching. So it's putting together the networks created by Pelagos. And this, for example, is the game cards that we've developed. One card is specifically on the high quality whale watching, but as you can see, there's card also about the plastic, about all other impacts that are really important to conserve our cetaceans. And the last product that we have produced with this project was testimonies of the whale watching operators that just promote their services in order that people get aware about this kind of specific service that should be more concerned by environmental issues. And that's all. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Reddy. We are running out of time, but we have 2 questions online.
Oui, on a 2 questions. La première pour Dania et Maxime. Comment se fera l'échange de connaissances dont vous avez parlé dans votre présentation? Et la deuxième pour Francesca, pour l'appel à l'intérêt, qui pourra postuler des AMP de la Méditerranée et quelles sont les thématiques pour éventuellement postuler?
Yeah, okay, if it's possible to reply in English. So, so the knowledge exchange is mainly coming so far. So we have had several already preparatory meetings to see how we can put the knowledge, so to identify the knowledge gaps and how we can make them available. So in terms of the knowledge present, we are, as Maxime mentioned, working closely with mainly him, because you were in all these meetings, and several teams from Amare Plus so far, but also we will be working with Fish MPA Blue 2 Plus and other partners to identify what solutions are for each of the gaps that we are identifying in terms of data, for example, and knowledge. That we have worked on so far. We will be presenting some of the results during the side event. In the COP, it's mainly identifying what are the priorities in terms of knowledge that are of interest. Based on that, to identify what outcomes from the project's results are there. With Amare Plus, we have identified also an additional way that they will be contributing of going beyond the project's results and going into identifying what has been achieved inside this area in terms of scientific knowledge and to extract it. We will be developing all of this in a way to make it accessible and harmonized in an online platform that we will be showing more details on, to a more targeted public and to a general public. So this is where we are so far. But of course, we have just, I mean, the intentions are there. Some activities have started. We need to, building on the MOU, start to identify how to move further with other gaps. But what has been done so far is that. And I think if there's mainstreaming in the side event in Rome, it will be a good opportunity for the person that was interested in that to see, yeah, somehow visually what will be presented. I hope I replied from my side. I don't know, Maxime, if you want. Yeah, okay.
Concerning the next call for proposal addressing to marine protected areas, will be more open the second part of the next year, so 2022. And we have foreseen some actions addressed to marine protected areas under two main priorities. One that is more linked to biodiversity, so biodiversity protection, and the other one more linked to climate change. So action on climate change adaptation and mitigation of effects of climate change and risk prevention. So under these two priorities, we have foreseen actions that are a sort of continuity of actions that have been financing until now. For example, we continue to promote the networking among protected areas, but also ecosystem-based approaches, co-management approaches, multi-stakeholders governance models. So all but also the process of designation of new, supporting at least process of designation of new protected areas. So all these type of actions will be founded under these two priorities. And also we push also for capacity building and awareness raising actions. And we think, and also restoration of degraded ecosystem or polluted ecosystems. Marine protected areas, so managers can be involved, of course, as an active partner in the North, so all the eligible area of the Interagmat program, so North Shore, but we push for the involvement of also South countries, and they can be involved as associated partners. So eligible costs are, for example, their participation in activities. Eligible costs are travel accommodation mainly, or participation to events as external expertise, for example. But we really push for the involvement also of marine protected areas from South countries. And just to see that we are anyway cooperating with other programs as the CBC program that is working also in the South countries, and cost and their participation is eligible. So this cooperation can allow also to open to new opportunities to also other beneficiaries. So we just to be in mind that we cooperate with other programs for this type of links and involvement of marine protected areas from the South.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup à tous. Est-ce qu'il y a dans la salle d'autres questions? On est un peu en retard, je pense. Le moment de l'apéritif est arrivé pour tout le monde, mais s'il n'y a pas de questions, merci beaucoup à tous pour avoir participé. Thank you all. Bye.